Hey everybody, Xeno here, and we have a new trailer for Breath of the Wild 2 that needs a looking at. Never thought I'd be able to say those words. It just felt like it would never actually come. It's something that you're always expecting, but it'll never actually happen. But it happened here today. And from the amount of times I've watched this trailer already and the notes I've taken from it, there's a good amount of things to take away from it that I'm very excited to share with you guys right now. So let's go ahead and jump right in. This is my analysis of the Breath of the Wild 2 teaser trailer for E3 2021. So as all good trailers do, this one starts with a Nintendo Switch logo. And as we get into it here, you'll notice something very different right away. So if we take a look at this compared to what we saw in the last teaser trailer for Breath of the Wild, the first one that is, when we actually learned about the game, there's a bit of a contrast here. You see a very similar thing going on here with a substance coming from the bottom left corner into the middle of the screen and just kind of consuming it over time. But the thing is here, we have malice this time instead of that glowing energy. And as that malice continues to grow, we can see our first flash here of Link, who is trying to hold back this malice from taking over his hand, basically. And you can even see that he takes his other hand and grasps that shoulder, trying to get a hold of it, but it does not seem to be working. You can see his teeth are very clenched there, and if you take a closer look, you can even see he has the sheath of the Master Sword on his back there, so this is probably taking place at the exact same time as that other trailer was. Even the rocks in the background kind of support that with their look. So after that flash, we'll see that the malice continues to consume the screen until... oh, there he is. Ganondorf is back, and I say Ganondorf, but we still have no confirmation that's who this guy actually is. I think he's Ganondorf. I mean, he has the glowing red malice eyes, he has Gerudo signs on him, he has even the red hair, the fangs. He looks like a Ganondorf to me, but we have no confirmation of that yet. But there are some interesting new details you can see just from this one little flash in this trailer, which is actually the only time he appears in this trailer. Now, the first thing that stood out to me was actually the holes in the middle of his chest. Like, you can see right on the center of his chest, he has some holes. And I think that's just like a design choice, right? Maybe there is some kind of thing behind that where mummification leads to like weird holes in the flesh or whatever. I don't even know. It's, yeah. But that led me to look at his hands, which also you can see holes on. And on even closer inspection, you can see that his hands, the holes you see there, actually are a pattern. And a pattern we've seen before of the Sheikah technology. Yeah, match it up. This looks like that exact same pattern that you see all over Breath of the Wild. I use it in the background of my videos all the time. You've probably already seen it in the background of this video. If you haven't, here it is. But I find that super interesting because it doesn't look like that texture goes anywhere else on his body. As you can look at him and see, that's like the only place that it is, just on his hands, the palm of his hand. And I like how the positioning of that circle is right in the middle of the hand, which makes me think it's intentional. Like, this could just be a thing where they needed the texture to put on him because he's not fully finished yet, because development is still progressing, but I don't know. Maybe there is a deeper connection there to the Sheikah. The second thing I wanted to point out was the white sash around his waist, and how it seems to be held together by what looks to me like a horseshoe, and the design of it is very particular as well. As you can see, it kind of has that blocky look to it, especially at the end, as you saw with the hand in the first teaser trailer. Maybe there's actually a greater connection between this hand and Ganondorf than we know. And next I want to point your attention to this little jewel that I see just hanging off his left arm there, which looks to me like a sort of balance. Maybe I'm just looking at this wrong, but it looks like a balance. It also kind of shows that blocky architecture design we've seen so many times with this hand from the last trailer, and we're going to see it a lot more in this trailer as well. Finally, this is just a better up-close look at what Ganon might look like in this game. He seems to be raising his hands to do something. I don't know what. Maybe he's raising the roof, raising the castle there. But I don't know. We're just going to have to wait to find out. You can also see his robe a little bit better here, and how it kind of just slings over one side of him there on the right arm, which is actually more important than you might think, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Anyway, finally moving past Ganon, the malice continues to grow until it consumes the entire screen, and we have our final flashby here, which is Zelda falling into a black abyss. Now, this shot doesn't really tell us a lot. I mean, Zelda's falling, yeah, it gets that point across. That's probably the only point it wanted to get across. But you can see that the rock texture, of course, looks very similar to that exact same cave from the first trailer again, so it seems like this is taking place at the exact same time. And we get a better close-up look at Zelda's face and just her new design with the hood for this game. Then we fade to black before music kicks in, and we see this light come out of nowhere, just kind of like the beginning of Breath of the Wild. That's what it reminds me of, when you start that game and there's a light that comes out of nowhere, and then you see Link in the Shrine of Resurrection waking up. I thought that was a nice little comparison there, that this is how we see this game for the first time, really, and that's how Breath of the Wild started. Now this is where we get into the complicated stuff, and where things really open up a lot, both literally and figuratively. So what's going on here is we see this character, which we're not sure it's Link yet. We'll talk more about that as we keep going, but they're skydiving onto these floating islands. And yeah, so what I want to address right away is the islands, what seems to be a huge focus of this game based on this particular trailer, that we are not just going back to Hyrule, but we're going above Hyrule and beyond Hyrule. Yeah, sure, there you go. And these islands, at least from what we've seen so far, seem to share a very similar motif. We have the yellow trees, the floating architecture with the blockiness to it again. There's some Japanese arch-type structures you see throughout all these clips, and also these little shrine areas. And as we get into the later scenes of all this, we can see that this is actually above Hyrule, the Hyrule that we know. You can see right down there what is the Tabantha Plateau area, where the Thundera Plateau is and all that. And all of this is right above that. This whole scene right here, though, and the camera angle of it, and just the fact that so many of these settings seem to have the same motif of the yellow trees and everything, makes me think that they might be trying to hide something, that this might actually be just one of the new areas above the sky in Breath of the Wild 2. This is the only point in the trailer that we get to see the surface of Hyrule below all these islands. And even though these are pretty cool, you know, it's a big thing to add a bunch of floating islands to Hyrule, you gotta think about how long they've been working on this game, and how the 2022 release date also makes it so they're working on it even longer. So I doubt that this is the only thing that the Zelda team has up their sleeve, just a few floating islands that all have yellow trees for some reason. I think this just might be one of the new biomes above Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, only one of them. Now at this point in the analysis, I could try to go into an in-depth discussion on how many islands there are, how big and substantial they actually are, and all of that, but I think we're gonna save that. I don't want to talk too much about the islands here today, because there's so many other things besides them to talk about. Now let's get back to our friend here, this character. Are they new? Are they not? We're gonna answer that. But first of all, let's take a look at their outfit and just kind of break it all down. So as you can see here, they are wearing these laced sandals, at least in this shot. They actually change out of those for the rest of the shots. So this might be like an introduction to this character here when they have their base gear on, and later they have these boots on, as you see right here. The thing is though, that they also have this hand. It is the exact same hand that we saw in the last trailer. We even see it later in this trailer bonding with someone, and apparently they have it. Now that hand is our key in linking this person back to Link, because as you can see in this trailer, Link is actually bonded to this hand as well. So they might actually just be one and the same, these two people. As you can see right here, Link has that hand, and he is using this new stasis-like ability, which we'll get into here in a minute. But he also has it here, when he does this flip back, and you can see that on his right hand, there it is. Same glowy hand, just not activated at the moment. Now besides the glowing hand and the sandals, we can see that this person has their hair let down. And if you take a look at their hair compared to Link's, it seems like the length is about the same, just that Link usually has his in a ponytail, so it's not perceived as long, but I think they're about the same length. We can also see that this person has blue earrings, just like Link has later in this trailer. So I'm really leaning towards these people being one and the same, and if they're not one and the same, I feel like they're very related to each other. Like maybe this is the ancient hero actually from the 10,000 years ago Calamity, because as we take a look at the rest of the getup that this person has on here, we can see that they're wearing a tunic that only goes on one side of their body. It only hangs off the left side, as well as a sash that is green there as well. And they also have undergarments there below it. But the interesting thing here is look back to Ganondorf at the beginning of this trailer, because he's wearing a very similar looking outfit to what this character is wearing. So again, I say maybe there is a connection back there. Maybe these two actually fought it out 10,000 years ago. Maybe the story of Calamity Ganon we know isn't exactly true. On this green sash, we can make out the end of what seems to be a symbol, but of course that symbol is displayed on the front of this character, which we have not been able to see their face this entire trailer. So we just kind of get what looks like a horn at the top of this symbol that they're wearing. It could be Farosh, the dragon, which we do know that dragon had a horn in Breath of the Wild, so that's my best guess at the moment. Finally, just to point out a few more things in this opening scene here, we can see what seems to be some kind of corruption coming off of the area that the green hand bonded to this person. We can see the pattern has kind of taken to the rest of their hand there, and it really just reminds me of like Princess Mononoke, which going all the way back to Breath of the Wild, there were comparisons with one of the teaser trailers for that game with Mononoke, so I find that really funny. They aren't wearing any weapons or even a quiver in this particular shot, so as I said before, this seems to be one of the first times we might see this person. If it is Link, just in a new getup, then maybe this is when he first ascends into the sky somehow. But I feel like this is one of the opening scenes with this sky world. The next scene takes us to night, and we can see that Link, who I'm just going to refer to as Link from this point on because I've put forth the evidence, I think it is Link. If it's not Link, it's an ancestor of him that is basically interchangeable. But they are still using the paraglider, and this time they have two little ribbons on the end there that just add an extra cool flair to it as they glide on by, I guess. This also implies that we will be able to glide freely in the sky between these islands and everything, which that's amazing. Okay, this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire trailer here, just because of the lighting, you know? The sunset lighting in Breath of the Wild is so cool, and just when you add in all this yellow grass and trees and just greenery, except it's yellowy now, it looks so good. And you can see the islands above this one and how they're multi-layered and some are way higher than the others. And you see another one of those shrine-looking things over there, like literal shrines, not like the Sheikah shrines. We also get another good look at the architecture of these floating islands and how it's all like this very old-looking stone block kind of thing, which we see throughout the entire trailer, even as we go into this next scene here, which actually we're gonna skip you. We'll be back in a minute. This scene in Hyrule Field, which is actually one of the only two we see in Hyrule Field. There is so much going on here because this is a location we've already seen before, but there are some big changes actually. So first of all, I want to point out, going back to that whole block architecture and everything of the flying islands, you can see over in the corner there are these two pillars that are really blocky and look like they might have come from the same architecture as those flying islands. So what the heck is the deal with that? Beyond that, we see these bokoblins here, which are horned. They're wearing horns. I don't know why, but they have horns now. They also have made their base on a stone talus, which is just absolutely terrifying. And the second scene happening on the surface of Hyrule, there's so much happening here as well. We can see, again, the bokoblins have horns for some reason, but also the moblins have some kind of like spiky helmet type thing on. And I don't know why this is. Maybe Ganon did something to all his minions? I mean, also, why are all his minions back? There's a lot of questions going on here. But beyond that, there's also the big spiky ball here that Link is sending back towards these people, because if you look at this scene very closely, you can see that at the beginning, this spiky ball is rolling down at Link before he stops it and sends it back at them. It's like an instant stasis. And again, as we pointed out earlier, this ability seems to be coming from that new hand ability of his and how it bonded with him. The interesting thing though is that this hand glows a goldish color when he does activate it. Maybe that could be because this is a stasis-like ability and that seems to be the color associated with it. But also, you know, Link's been known to have the Triforce appear on his hand, and whenever his hand glows yellow like that, what do you expect us to think of, Anima? Now I want to go back and take a look at this guy now, which we skipped over earlier, because he's interesting. He has these hands at the bottom of his body, and these things hanging from what looks like lanterns on both sides of his head, which look like bells, and there's just a whole lot going on with this design. And you would think right away that I'd call this Zonai. That's Zonai, right? But it doesn't exactly look like that to me. I mean, it definitely has the blocky texture to it and everything, which we've seen so many times in this trailer, but it's not exactly like one for one with the Zonai as they appear in Breath of the Wild. So maybe they're going with a brand new look in this game, but still calling them Zonai, or maybe this is something completely different. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But this guy right here, we can see that he is powered by what seems to be the same glowy green energy that Link uses in his hand, and there's even an insignia on his chest piece there with what seems like a broom and an outline of some things. And the outline there leads me to another really interesting piece of imagery in this trailer, which happens when we see this hand bond with what is presumably Link's hand. Because if you look at the background there, you can see what are these inscribings in a stone, and it seems kind of curved. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but this looks a whole lot like the presumed Mirror of Twilight that we see off the coast, kind of near Lurelin Village. Anyway, back out of the theory stuff for a minute, let's continue to the next scene here, which is a really interesting one because we see what I believe is our first brand new enemy. I mean, they gave horns to the Bokoblins, and that's cool and all, but like, I want some brand new stuff too. This really reminds me of a like, and I'm sure it reminds a lot of other people too, just like the way that it looks and everything. It looks like a lot bigger than a like, but and you'd think that the new enemy in the scene would be the most interesting thing, but no, Link is using this new thing here on his shield, just like a dragon-looking head, a Zonai dragon-looking head attached to his shield that spits out fire. He basically has a flamethrower now, guys. Also, the blocky architecture here reminds me of the floating islands again, which is interesting because this scene has Link in it, not the other person. Maybe they're just the same person and he was wearing a different outfit. Maybe. Also, if you look at the ground there, you can see what seems to be a circle with inscribings on the sides of it, which goes back to that whole idea of the new symbol and how they look kind of like the Mirror of Twilight. Maybe I'm losing it, but there you go. Finally, there is a little platform behind this guy, which I can't exactly make out, but it looks kind of like a chest on that platform. It would make sense if it was. If it's something else, cool, but I don't know what it would be. And here's where we get our first look at one of Link's brand new abilities, as we see this very interesting visual here of a water drop going back in time, which then fades into Link using the hand to just phase through an entire side of the cliff there, which is just mega cool. But I want to go back to the droplet for a second, because as cool as that is, what is this? What is going on here? I know like it's a cool transition and everything, but like why? Why did they make this? It's not just for a transition. There is something in this game where there is a drop of water that goes back in time, basically. And you know what that makes me think of? Maybe the reason that these islands are appearing and that things are just different is because maybe Hyrule is reverting in time somehow. And this could be part of a cutscene where we see that happen. Again, I'm just throwing out some theories along the way while analyzing this stuff, but I think that's a cool one. Then we get our closest thing to what I would say was the opening shot from Breath of the Wild on the cliff, where we just see all the islands with Hyrule below it. And I talked about before how I think this might be hiding other islands and everything with different aesthetics on the other side of Hyrule, but nonetheless, amazing looking shot. And this is also the portion of the trailer where we need to start paying attention to the music. I mean, we should have been the entire time because the theme they use here is very, very beautiful. And it reminds me a lot of the original Breath of the Wild theme. I could very much see this being the main theme of this game. There might be like some revisions to it before the game actually comes out, but I think this is what we're looking at for a main theme. The thing you want to listen for though is as we go into this sweeping shot and the shot of the castle rising, you can hear in the background some chanting, which sounds very similar to the chanting we heard in the background of the first teaser trailer for Breath of the Wild 2. And the thing is that on inspection of going back and listening to it, I think they're saying the exact same thing. I still can't fully tell what they're saying. It sounds like "please help us" something to me, but I'm pretty sure that's the exact same phrase being repeated. This is an interesting shot because we get to finally see the castle rising up close, but not all of the castle is rising. Also, there's a lot of demon energy coming from below the castle, which is just magnificent. But as you can see, the gatehouse there wasn't taken along. Like, only the main portion of the castle is rising with this thing, which is interesting. And from the shots they give us, we don't get a good look at exactly what is causing the castle to rise. Maybe it's just like a pull from the malice, but all we get to see is a bunch of stalactites on it. So yeah, it's just rising, you know, it's just rising. I do think this shot right here though, this is a very much a tell for yeah, Ganon was below the castle. I'm pretty sure at this point he's probably below the castle when they find him in that teaser trailer. And as the rock hits the screen, That's it. That's all we get besides this. And I mean, hey, don't knock the scenic shots that end off the trailer. There's a lot of stuff you can see here. So, the main thing to see here, of course, is the castle and how it is, yet again, glowing with malice. Which makes me worried that they're gonna be, like, a little too similar with, like, okay, the game's gonna end in the castle, you defeat Ganon, bada bing, bada boom, game over. Hopefully that's not what happens. I mean, this trailer is definitely not showing us all of the game. I can basically tell you that right now. They labeled it as a teaser trailer still. This is still teasing the game. The full reveal is not yet here. But what is interesting is Hyrule Castletown is still in ruins, which makes me think that this game is taking place not long after Breath of the Wild. And bringing it back to the castle for a second, it really didn't rise as much as I thought it would. Like, it's just kind of hovering there. It's not really floating, just kind of hovering there, which is cool, I guess. But the biggest thing here that is weird about this whole trailer is how this ending shot, you can see the area over the Thundra Plateau and Tabantha Fields over there. There is no islands in the sky as far as we can see. So what the heck is going on? Like I said, it's still a teaser trailer, so they're trying to tease us with what to expect when they fully unveil the game, which hopefully is sometime later this year. I mean, we got this trailer here, and they've been working on this game for like 4 or 5 years now, and they put the release date as 2022. Who knows when in 2022, but I feel like there's a good chance we might see the game again this year. And in the meantime, wow, that Direct was great. That was a good Nintendo E3 Direct. Man. Yeah. But that is it. We fade to the 2022 release, which seems to be a new font. This is not the regular Zelda font, which is interesting. And that is the trailer. There is so many different things happening here, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. It's definitely not what I expected, which is good, right? You never want to see what you were expecting to see, because then the surprise isn't there. But I'm still a little concerned, to be honest with you, with them reusing Hyrule Field and the entirety of Hyrule and adding these islands. I just hope the island content is substantial enough and that they change enough of the actual Hyrule Field, and we can actually have what feels like a brand new world to explore. There's a lot of potential here. I'm sure I'm going to be talking about it for months to come, and I hope you guys will subscribe to the channel to join me on that journey to 2022. If you guys enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to like the video to help YouTube share it around, and if you have any things that you think I missed or any ideas you want to expand upon in the comments down below, let me hear them. I definitely want as many opinions on this as I can. I mean, we are better at uncovering these things when we work together, so let me know down in the comments if you have any different ideas or want to expand on any ideas. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at XenogamerYT, join the Discord server with a link in the description below, and follow me on Twitch every Friday for streams. I appreciate you guys checking out the breakdown here today, and stay tuned because there is going to be a lot of Breath of the Wild 2 content coming for this trailer and all the stuff in the future. I'm excited for this game, and I'm going to keep talking about it, and you can't stop me. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you in new videos soon. Bye-bye.